This is the story of an obsession so powerful, it shattered a man's mind. He was a wealthy nobleman, with a quiet life and a library full of books. But those books became his poison. They promised a world of chivalry, of epic quests and damsels in distress, a world that no longer existed. So he decided to bring it back. He abandoned his home, his name, and his sanity, to pursue a fantasy that would lead him to ruin, to violence, and to a shocking truth about the line between hero and madman. Now, the story itself. Tenny presents Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. In a village in La Mancha, Spain, lived a gentleman named Alonso Quijano. He was around 50 years old, lean, and an early riser. His pastime, which grew into an obsession, was reading books of chivalry. He read day and night until the stories of knights, giants, and enchanted castles dried up his brain. He lost his wits, believing every word of fiction he read was historical fact. In his mind, a terrible and strange idea took root. He would become a knight-errant himself.
I shall right all manner of wrongs, and win eternal fame and renown.
He polished up some old armor that belonged to his great-grandfather. He took out his old bony horse, and, after 4 days of thought, named him Rocinante.
A name, in my opinion, that is lofty, sonorous, and significant of what he was before.
Then he needed a name for himself. He became Don Quixote de la Mancha. But a knight-errant without a lady to love was like a tree without leaves. He chose a simple farm girl from a nearby village, Aldonza Lorenzo, and, in his mind, transformed her into a peerless princess.
I shall call her Dulcinea del Toboso, a name musical, uncommon, and meaningful.
And so, one morning before dawn, without telling anyone his intention, Don Quixote set out on his first adventure. Don Quixote's first sally was short-lived. He mistook an inn for a castle, and demanded the innkeeper knight him in a bizarre ceremony. After a few scuffles, he was beaten and sent home. Undeterred, he knew what he was missing: a squire. He found a poor, simple farmer from his village, Sancho Panza.
Sancho, my friend, join me on my quest. It is the custom of knights-errant to win islands and make their squires governors of them.
Sancho, tempted by the promise of ruling his own island, left his wife and children to follow the mad knight.
An island? You mean? I would be a governor? Well, in that case, I will follow you to the ends of the earth.
Together they set out. It was not long before Don Quixote found his first great challenge.
Fortune is guiding our affairs better than we could have wished. Look there, friend Sancho. Where 30 or more monstrous giants appear, I intend to do battle with them and take all their lives.
Sancho looked and saw not giants but windmills.
What giants? Your worship, those are not giants, but windmills. And what you think are arms are the sails.
It is clear you're not experienced in this matter of adventures. They are giants. If you are afraid, go aside and pray, while I engage them in fierce and unequal combat.
Commending himself to his lady Dulcinea, he charged at the first windmill. He thrust his lance into the sail. The wind turned it with such violence that it shattered the lance to pieces, carrying away horse and rider. Sancho rushed to his aid.
Did I not tell your worship to look what you were doing? That they were nothing but windmills?
Hush, friend Sancho. The same wicked magician who stole my books has turned these giants into windmills to rob me of the glory of vanquishing them.
The adventures continued in the same vein. Don Quixote mistook a flock of sheep for 2 warring armies and charged into them, only to be pelted with stones by the angry shepherds. He freed a group of dangerous convicts, believing them to be oppressed gentlemen, who then thanked him by beating him and stealing his belongings. One day, They saw a man on a mule with something shining on his head.
Sancho, do you see that knight coming toward us on a dapple gray steed? He wears on his head the helmet of Membrino, the very helmet I have sworn an oath to possess.
I see a man on a gray ass with something on his head that glitters, but that's all I see.
The man was a barber, and the shining object was his brass basin, which he was wearing as a hat to protect himself from the rain. Don Quixote charged, and the terrified barber fell off his ass and ran for his life, leaving the basin behind.
The pagan has acted wisely in imitating the beaver, who, when pursued by hunters, sacrifices the part for which he is hunted to save the whole.
He picked up the basin and placed it on his head.
This helmet must have fallen into the hands of someone who did not know its great worth. It looks just like a barber's basin, but for me, the knower of its value, it is the legendary helmet of Membrino.
Word of the strange knight and his squire began to spread. They came upon a duke and duchess who had read of their adventures and were eager for some amusement. They invited Don Quixote and Sancho to their castle, pretending to believe in their fantasies.
Welcome, O valiant knight, flower of all chivalry.
We are honored to receive the great Don Quixote de la Mancha in our castle.
They treated Don Quixote with exaggerated courtesy, all while planning a series of cruel and elaborate pranks. They staged a fake enchantment of Dulcinea, claiming she could only be freed if Sancho gave himself 3,300 lashes. Then, fulfilling Sancho's dream, they made him governor of a fictional island.
We grant you, good Sancho, the governorship of the Isle of Barataria.
My island, at last.
But Sancho's rule was a farce. The duke's servants presented him with impossible legal cases and served him magnificent feasts that were snatched away before he could take a single bite, under the guise of doctor's orders. Surprisingly, Sancho judged the cases with simple, rustic wisdom. But after days of starvation and ridicule, he had enough.
I was not born to be a governor, nor to defend islands from enemies. I understand more about plowing and digging than giving laws. Let me go back to my old life. I would rather have my fill of bread and onion than be a governor and eat partridges with the anxiety of a physician.
He abandoned his governorship, proving that he had more common sense than all the nobility who mocked him. After leaving the duke and duchess, Don Quixote's adventures continued, but a shadow was following them. His friends and family were desperate to bring him home. A young man from his village, Sanson Carrasco, devised a plan. Knowing he could not beat Don Quixote with reason, he decided to beat him at his own game. He disguised himself as a knight, the Knight of the White Moon. He found Don Quixote on a beach in Barcelona.
Who is this that dares to challenge me?
The Knight of the White Moon laid out his terms. They would joust. If Don Quixote won, the challenger's life and honor would be at his mercy. But if the Knight of the White Moon won, Don Quixote must return to his village for 1 year and lay aside his arms. Don Quixote, confident in his prowess, accepted. They charged. The Knight of the White Moon was younger, stronger, and his horse was faster. He struck Don Quixote with such force that he was thrown from Rocinante, landing hard on the sand. The victor stood over him, lance at his visor. He had lost. His fantasy was shattered.
Dulcinea del Toboso is the most beautiful woman in the world, and I the most unfortunate knight on earth. Drive your lance home, knight, and take my life, since you have taken my honor.
But the Knight of the White Moon only demanded he fulfill their bargain. Defeated and heartbroken, Don Quixote agreed. His career as a knight-errant was over. The journey home was quiet and somber. Don Quixote fell into a deep melancholy. Upon arriving home, he was put to bed with a fever. He slept for 6 hours straight, and when he awoke, his mind was clear.
Blessed be Almighty God, who has been so good to me. My judgment is now clear, free from the murky shadows of ignorance, which my sad and constant reading of those detestable books of chivalry cast over it.
He was no longer Don Quixote de la Mancha. He was Alonso Quijano again.
I am the enemy of all those foolish tales. I now see their absurdity and deceit.
His friends and family were overjoyed, but they soon realized this return to sanity was a sign that his end was near. Sancho Panza wept.
Oh, don't die, your worship. Take my advice and live many years. The greatest madness a man can commit in this life is to let himself die just like that, without anyone killing him.
My dear Sancho, in last year's nests, there are no birds this year. I was mad, but I am now sane. I was Don Quixote de la Mancha, and I am now, as I have said, Alonso Quijano the Good.
He confessed his sins, wrote his will, and, after 3 days, peacefully passed away. So ends the tale of the ingenious gentleman Don Quixote. But what does his story truly tell us? On the surface, it is a hilarious satire of chivalric romance, a warning against the dangers of losing oneself in fiction. But it is much more than that. The key point of the novel is the complex relationship between reality and illusion, sanity and madness. If this were an exam, the crucial question would be, what does Don Quixote's madness reveal about the sane world? The answer is that his unwavering idealism, though delusional, often exposes the hypocrisy, greed, and lack of imagination in the people he meets. He tries to live by a noble code in a world that has forgotten nobility. He sees giants where others see windmills, but the sane characters, like the Duke and Duchess, are revealed to be morally bankrupt and cruel. In the end, Don Quixote's quest was not just to be a knight, but to impose a better, more heroic narrative onto a mundane world. He shows us that the worlds we build in our minds, the beliefs we hold onto against all odds, have a profound power to shape our existence, for better or for worse. And in his tragic, comical, and ultimately noble failure, he becomes a timeless symbol of the human spirit's yearning for something more. Next time on Tenny Presents A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. In our next story, we leave the sun-drenched plains of Spain and the fog of delusion. We travel to the grimy, gaslit streets of London, where madness is not a quest for glory, but a motive for murder. We trade a world shaped by wild imagination for one that can only be understood through cold, hard, inescapable logic.